Hey, what's up guys? Brad with Squared Away every day, and today we are going to be talking about how to best prepare for your next Tesla road trip. Whether that's a Model 3, Model Y, Model S, or Model X that you own, it's all going to be relatively the same. I have a few trips coming up this summer, and so I had a little bit of time, so I methodically put together a list of things you need to do if you have a Tesla specifically, and if you're planning on going on a road trip. I myself selfishly am making this video so that I don't have to relive this again, and I can just reference the video for each and every trip I'm gonna take, because inevitably I will forget stuff. And so anyway, if you like this kind of content, please go ahead and give me a like, give me a sub, and let's hop into it. Okay, so the first thing we need to consider when we're planning our Tesla road trip is you need to be using the Tesla Trip Planner on their website specifically, or you can use the Tesla Trip Planner just in your car. And essentially that's just when you go to navigate, it'll just plan the trip for you, and it'll let you know all the stops that you need to make along the way, how long you'll have to be there, and all that good stuff. Now, it's really important to do that specifically because if we just go ahead and get on like Apple Maps and try to nav this thing out, the problem is it's not going to equate for the time that you're gonna have to sit at the supercharger. So super important, use the Tesla Trip Planner to go ahead and nav that trip out to begin with. Another thing, this is just relevant to any sort of road trip, but another thing you need to be aware of is when you're crossing time zones and you're gonna have a shift in time. So if we're in a location A, and then when we get to location B, it's 2 hours ahead of time, we really need to specifically consider that when we consider our check-in time for our hotel or whatever, because if we're already driving 10, 13, 12 hours, whatever it's gonna be, then we need to make sure that if we have a 2-hour time shift, that 10-hour time shift, or I'm sorry, that 10-hour drive is now turning into essentially a 12 because you're losing 2 hours on that commute. Okay, so this is the part of the video where we're gonna talk about the things, the stuff you should be packing in your car to help you get along better on your road trip. And a lot of this is gonna be specific to Teslas, and some of it is just generic to road trips in general. But the one thing that I would recommend you do, we talked about tint just a second ago, I would go ahead and tint your car. Tint it legally. Most states, it's 20% tint and you're gonna be totally fine. But having a little bit of tint on the vehicle is gonna help you for, like, if you get into a sketchy area, you don't know where you're going really, but if you get into a sketchy area, making eye contact with somebody is not a good idea if you're in a bad part of town. And it's just because it opens up that door for some sort of interaction. And so having a little bit of tint on those windshields, or yeah, I do the windshield, but having it on the windows is going to help you so that you have less, so that you're less available to just people in general. And so if you're in a sketchy part of town, that is gonna be something that you'll like quite a bit. And of course, if you don't wanna go ahead and tint your car, then sunglasses are also a good barrier. That's why police wear sunglasses all the time. It's a good barrier so that people, it's harder to read. It makes you less socially available. And so tint and sunglasses, that's a win. But if you don't wanna do tint, sunglasses are definitely going to be important. The things that are gonna help you have a successful road trip. A lot of these are going to be very specific to Teslas in general, but some of it is just general common sense for road trips. Now, the first one, obviously, we already talked about, is windshield wiper fluid. Make sure you pick some sort of all-season windshield wiper fluid, especially if you're traveling across country, because the weather conditions can be significantly different from where you are traveling from. And get one that's good for removing bugs off the windshield, because that is going to be the most frequent thing you're removing. Now, as everybody knows, the Teslas do not have a spare tire. So this is very important that you plan ahead for this aspect of it. So let's take a look at what we've got. Now, the first thing, you can do a couple different things, honestly. I kind of take a multifaceted approach to this. So one thing you'll want to carry in your vehicle is Fix-A-Flat. This one I like to get for the large tire diameters for the Model Ys, the Model X's, and even the Model S. It might not be a bad idea for the Model 3 as well. The Fix-A-Flat is going to be super important for you. If you have a, let's say, a minimal puncture to the tire and you're slowly losing air, these can be pretty good. It can even be good for like a little bit more, let's say like a moderate puncture. This can be a pretty good option for you, especially if you don't have an air compressor. So it will actually fill the leak, and it will pump up your tires to a degree so it can get you to the gas station to fill it up from there. And then you'll have to come up with a more permanent solution, being that you're on a road trip. So Fix-A-Flat is going to be a good one. Another one I like to do And Fix-A-Flat's also really good in the case that maybe we have a tire puncture repair kit, but we can't actually get to the location of the puncture, and we don't have a jack with us, and we don't have an extra tire. So the Fix-A-Flat is good for that kind of thing. Now, one that you kind of really should have is going to be a puncture repair kit. Now, this one's just from ARB. I have a couple of these. One of them is from my Overland rig, but make sure that you have a puncture repair kit that's got like some needle nose pliers, actual plugs in it, a plug stuffer thing, and just some various stuff in the kit to actually plug a significant hole that you may have or puncture in your tire. So this is going to be a good thing, but we need a way to pump it up. So something I recommend is the DeWalt air compressor. This is not going to pump up a tire super fast. It's not going to take you like, 30 minutes either, maybe more like 10 minutes, something around that, somewhere around that ballpark. If you've lost that much air, it could take you around 10 minutes to pump it up with this guy. But this guy runs around 80 to 110, 120 bucks. It just takes standard DeWalt batteries, and then just make sure you've got a full charge on that battery. And this will be really nice combo with the tire puncture repair kit, the plug kit, and then having some sort of air compressor on you. It doesn't have to be this one, but having some sort of air compressor on you so that you can actually repair the tire on the road. And so we talked about the tire repair system I've got in place since we have no spare. Another thing that's going to be really vitally important for your road trip is going to be comms. So you can do this in a couple different ways. For me specifically, I chose to go with a satellite phone. So a sat phone is going to be really good if we get into a situation. A lot of these locations we're going to travel to throughout the United States have zero coverage, and you could be, I think they call them gasoline deserts, where you're going maybe 300-400 miles with absolutely no gas stations or no buildings in sight. And so that is a really scary situation, especially if you have a family with you. So me specifically, I went ahead and picked up a satellite phone. This satellite phone is specifically for calling Tesla roadside service. Now, I also have this because I'm into the whole overlanding thing and that whole thing. So I have it for that reason too. But for the Tesla road trip, it'll be specifically to contact Tesla roadside service. So I have their number programmed in my phone, and I can just easily pull up the GPS location of where I'm at. I could call Tesla roadside, and if it's some sort of fix that I can't do on the side of the road with the tire, or it's a mechanical fix that is a catastrophic failure of the vehicle, I can go ahead and call Tesla roadside service, give them my GPS location, and they will come out and help me out. And these can be a little bit expensive, but I will guarantee you, if you got caught in the middle of nowhere in like the desert of like Nevada or Oregon or something like that, you would pay a ton of money, especially if you had your family with you, to go ahead and get out of that situation. So sat phone, in my opinion, is super important. You don't have to do a sat phone either. You could do something like a WeBoost, a cell phone booster, which will help boost, or really what it does is it helps receive the signal from the cell tower that much better. But a cell phone booster is great. Sat phone would be great. And also for like a real extreme emergency where you're like really in the thick of it, would be some sort of InReach, what do they call them? The Garmin InReach. I have one as well in my Tacoma. The Tacoma's getting some stuff done on it, but I have one of those. The InReach is great, but it would be for really serious, like an SOS situation where they're sending out search and rescue for you. It's not so much for contacting Tesla roadside service. All right, just moving along the list here, another important one to do is download the maps, the highway maps, the road maps. Download them to like your iPad or buy an actual paper map, but you can download it to your iPad or your phone, and you can have the actual physical maps just in case something happens and you need it. I'm a fan of having redundancies, and on a road trip especially, you should have the maps, the road maps for every state you're going to travel through, downloaded to either your phone or your iPad, or have actual hard paper maps. Now, going with just a creature comforts thing, you're going to spill stuff, you're going to get sticky things on your hands, you're going to eat too many Cheetos, and you need to clean your fingers off. So make sure that you've got some sort of wet wipes in the vehicle. That's going to help you tremendously, and it's just, it's not a life or death thing, but it is going to be something that you're very thankful to have. Okay, and then some more practical items you're going to need are going to be an umbrella. Make sure that you pack an umbrella for you so you're not just wet and miserable if you do get caught in a storm and you need to get gas or something like that. Also, make sure that you have rain jackets packed for yourself and everybody in the family. Rain jackets are also going to be as equally important as an umbrella. Make sure you have both of those. Then we move on to kind of the snacks and drink category, and I am somewhat of a water snob. Certain parts of the country that you're going to travel through are going to have really, really poor water supplies. Something you're not going to want to drink. Now, you can always buy like gallons of water. Me personally, I like to go with these Scepter water cans. This is just a simple 2.5 liter, so it's like a 5-gallon can. And essentially, oh, it's a 10 liter, I'm sorry. It's a 10 liter, I think this is 5 gallons. And so essentially, I bring my own water, which is really high quality water that I bring on the road with me. And this particular can is super thick and heavy. So I'm not worried about it just busting at the seam like just a standard 1-gallon jug of water or something like that. So bringing some sort of water with you, whether it's just a 1-gallon jugs or this, is gonna be really important just to make sure you stay hydrated and you don't get fatigue and get headaches and all that good stuff. So bring some water with you. Then we also need to make sure that we bring some sort of little cooler. Make sure that you got some little cool packs in it or ice or something, because we may pick up a sandwich, maybe we didn't eat all of our lunch, we want to store it in here, or you want to bring snacks with you from like the hotel when you get back on the road. So a cooler and water are going to be essential for traveling across the country in your Tesla. All right, so let's talk about some contingency items that we're going to need in the vehicle as well. We want some sort of trauma kit. This is just a very small, basic, like mini IFAK kit, and it's got a tourniquet in here, it's got some gauze, stuff like that for if we had a really serious accident. Now, if you're going on a road trip, the best thing for you to do is to put together some sort of little trauma kit, and you need to at least have as many tourniquets as there are people in the vehicle. That's a really good rule of thumb. Some quick clot isn't a bad idea as well, gauze, that kind of stuff. That's gonna be really good. Even if you don't know how to use that, if somebody gets on the scene and you have that and they know how to use it, hey, that's a win right there. So that's a really good item to have. Another one is going to be a Rescue Me device, and these are pretty cool. They're 10, 15 bucks. If your car flips over, if you get into an accident, you can't get out, if you get into a water situation, this is essentially just going to break the windshield for you. You can just put this on, there's no keychains with Teslas, but you can just put it in like your dash or something. It's really tiny, easy to use, and it's just a good item to have in the car in the case you get in an accident and you can't get out. All right, now as we plan to get the vehicle ready for the actual road trip, it's really important to make sure that the vehicle is clean. You're gonna be living in that thing for however long, and so make sure that the exterior is clean so you're not getting dirty leaning up against it, so that your backup cams and all of your cams on the car are actually gonna be functioning properly. Your autopilot's gonna be working right. Make sure the car is clean ahead of time, and then make sure the interior is clean just for your own creature comforts, because you're gonna have a lot of gear most likely, and you're gonna be living in that thing, so the cleaner it is, the more stress-free that trip is going to be. Now, a big one a lot of people overlook is you really need to make sure that all of the maintenance on the car has been done ahead of time. Now, as we all know, there's not a whole lot of maintenance on the Teslas in general. So what we need to specifically be looking at is the windshield cracked, and is it actually fit to drive? The last thing we want to do is go on a road trip, we get pulled over, and the car is deemed unfit to drive because we have so many cracks in the windshield. So windshield is going to be a big one. Second one is going to be, have you rotated your tires recently, at least side to side or full rotation, and are the tires in good condition? Those are going to be important aspects. And then another one is the windshield wiper fluid. Make sure you've got plenty of windshield wiper fluid to begin with to clear all those bugs off the windshield when you're going from point A to point B. And a big thing is, why we're doing a lot of this stuff, like if we have a couple different Teslas or something like that, and one of them isn't as tinted as the other one, we want to give the police the least amount of opportunities to A, pull us over and give us any sort of hassle. Me specifically, I live in Colorado, so anytime I travel out of the state, or any of us Coloradans do, you do run the risk of the likelihood of being pulled over more often than somebody from a different state, because of the connotation we have with like the sweet leaf thing and like that whole 420 movement. And then another one a lot of people forget is charge the car to 100% before you leave. We get so ingrained in charging the car up to like 80% or 90%. This is the time that you need to charge the car up to 100% prior to you leaving. And then finally, my last tip for you guys is make sure you have different types of currency with you as you're traveling. So don't just bring an Amex with you and think that you're good to go. Carry like an Amex, carry a Visa, and I would recommend carrying $400 or $500 cash minimum, just to make sure that if you get into a situation where you need either one of those currencies, they don't take Amex, maybe the mechanic only takes cash, whatever, that you're covered on all those fronts. On that same front, whatever account is hooked up to your Tesla account to pay for your supercharging, make sure that has money on it so that you can actually supercharge your car and you don't run any sort of hiccups along the way. So that's pretty much it, guys. A pretty thorough list there. There may be some things that I forgot. If I forgot anything, please go ahead and comment down below on some useful stuff and practical stuff you would throw into the how to best prepare for your Tesla road trip. And if you like this kind of content, please go ahead and give me a like, give me a sub, and we'll see you in the next one.